Hello friends, so today we are going to discuss about analog to digital converter, that is mainly known as ADC, and the most used word is ADC. Instead of every time calling it as a analog to digital converter, we used to call it as a ADC, and reverse is DAC. So ADC is the famous abbreviation of that analog to digital converter. So most of the time you might have used it in your microcontroller devices or the interfacing with a microprocessor and microcontrollers. So we require such kind of devices. Now we know that the data is in analog form and we need to convert it into equivalent digital format. So we need to convert it into compatible digital format. Either it may be in terms of TTL logic or either it may be in terms of CMOS logic, depending on what kind of circuitry you are using. So whatever may be the digital data processing devices are there, so we need a compatible output of this A to D converter, or we need a compatible output of sensor which need to be converted into a digital format. So the key characteristics of ADC is absolute and relative accuracy you will be requiring. You will require a linearity, you will require a no missing codes, you will require a resolution. The conversion speed is very important factor, stability is very important factor, and the price. Obviously if you are going for a high resolution, if you are going for a high conversion speed, the price will be very high. So resolution, speed, and linearity, these are the important parameters. So depending on the resolution, the accuracy may vary. So the most popular A to D converters that are used nowadays are successive approximation techniques, because it is good compromise between the speed and the accuracy. So when you require a high speed, then a successive approximation is required. But when you don't require a high speed, then you can go for the converters like dual ramp converter, quad slope converter, or V2F converter that can be used as a ADCs. So what is important in this one? So when converting the signal from the analog sensor, you need to consider the full scale, which is independent of number of bits of resolution, and a more useful coding is a binary fractional binary. So let us consider that your full scale range is 10 and you might be representing it with 8 bit. The range will remain same, full scale range will remain same. You may represent it with 8 bits, you may represent it with 10 bits, you may represent it with 12 bits. So the bit resolution is immaterial, but the full scale will remain as it is. So your full scale is independent of your bit resolution, and the more useful coding technique is fractional binary. So we know that whenever you are using a fractional binary, so all the integer values are divided by 2 raised to n. So if you consider that it is a 8 bit, then it is 2 raised to 8. Similarly, if it is a 4 bit, it is 2 raised to 4, and accordingly you will be going with that one. So how we are going to represent? If the MSB bit is weight of 1 by 2, because MSB will be having 1 by 2, and the LSB, it depends upon 1 divided by 2 raised to n. So the weight of that MSB bit and LSB bit, so how many bits you are considering it for conversion purpose, that weight depends upon the number of bits you are using. So if you are using 4 bits, then it is 1 upon 2 raised to n, that is 1 upon 16. Okay, so the maximum weight is 1 by 2 and the minimum weight of LSB is 1 upon 16 in case of 4 bit fractional binary. So the most important converter, or the converters we are going to discuss in this unit, is V2F converters. V2F converter, then dual slope and successive approximation. So we know that first we need to convert a voltage into corresponding frequency, and that frequency, if you count it, then that count is directly proportional to the voltage at input side. So you will be getting the count in terms of digital format. So you need to convert that count into digital format, and you will be getting the count which is proportional to the input voltage. So this is what the simple function, or this is what the simple principle used for V2F converter. So V2F converter that provides a high frequency, a high resolution conversion. So what this is useful for the sensor special function, as a long-term integration is utilized, a digital to frequency conversion is utilized, a frequency modulation. So these type of converters are generally used in the applications like a long-term integration, a D to F conversion. Generally it is used in D to A converters, then frequency modulation, and if you need a voltage isolation or arbitrary frequency division and multiplication is required, then in that case you will require such kind of V2F type of converters, or the features of V2F will be utilized. Okay, so the converter accepts the input signal from the sensor, and which will be in the format of either voltage or current. So you need to convert, if it is in terms of current, you need to convert it into voltage, and then voltage is converted into frequency. So the conversion of voltage to frequency is a counting of a number of square pulses per unit time. So you will be measuring the pulses per unit time, and that per unit time pulses are directly proportional to the voltage. Okay, so these pulses are proportional to the input voltage. So you are converting the pulse count into voltage into a pulse count, and that pulse count is proportional to the voltage. So all V2F converters are of integrating type. So you should know that this is of integrating type, and because you are measuring the number of pulses, that is nothing but a frequency which is proportional to the average value of the input voltage. Okay, so these points you need to consider, that V2F are of integrating type, and it is based on the average value of your input voltage. So when you are considering the V2F converter, the A to D conversion must be performed by a simple and economical manner. So if you consider cost and simplicity, the V2F converters are recommended. So the time required for the conversion an analog voltage into a digital number, and then related to the full scale frequency of V2F converter and required resolution. So you need to calculate that time. So this time V2F converter are relatively slow and quite appropriate for the vast majority sensor application, because you need to work with a sensor and your circuitries. So for that purpose V2F converters are majority times they are used. So another useful feature of V2F converter is that its pulses can be easily transmitted through the communication line. So you know the concept of communicating the FSK type of signal, right? Frequency shift keying. So if your data is in terms of ones and zeros, so you know that, or ASK type of, so such kind of transmission can be done with easily through the transmission line. That's why these V2F converters are recommended most of the time, and these pulses are less susceptible to the noise environment because of high resolution of the analog signal. Now the output frequency, or F out, of the converter is proportional to the input frequency, input voltage, that I have already told you, because the whatever may be the pulses that you are counting, that is directly proportional to V in. That's why F out is directly proportional to V in. So you will be getting this equation, F out divided by Fs. Fs means the full scale. So whatever may be the maximum range of input is there. So what is the maximum frequency and what is the minimum frequency, that you know it. So maximum frequency and F out, this ratio is equal to V in upon VFS. VFS is the full scale voltage. Okay, so this equation must be satisfied. When you if this equation is satisfied, then you can easily calculate this F out is equal to G into V in, where G is called as a conversion factor. So G is nothing but FFS divided by VFS. FFS by VFS. Okay. So how we are going to calculate it? So a simple multivibrator V to F converter, which is nothing but a free running square wave oscillator, which is also called as a astable multivibrator. So you have studied already astable multivibrator in various your courses like electronic devices and circuits, as well as analog integrated circuits using op amps. So such kind of free running square oscillators you have studied, where the charging and discharging current of the capacitors are controlled by the input signal. Okay, so this is what a simple circuitry you can consider it, where you will be getting a V to F conversion. So you know that this is the V reference, you will be getting here V in. So V in will drive this U1 and U2, and accordingly charging current will charge it like IA and IB, depending on whether U1 and U2 is on. Okay, so if U1 is on and U2 is on, accordingly the outputs are changed, and Q and Q bar will change its state, and you will get the output in terms of voltages. So the apparent advantage of this circuit is its simplicity and the potential. It is a very low power consumption. So this kind of circuitry is used generally because of its simplicity and low power consumption. Now there is another V to F converter which uses a charge balance type of principle. So this type of converter employs the analog integrator and a voltage comparator. So we have seen the voltage integrator circuit like this one. So you can see the concept over here. I'll explain it. Now here it is the V in you are giving. So this V in is given over here, and this terminal, the non-inverting terminal, is grounded. So V in is applied to this inverting terminal, and accordingly the capacitor will get charged initially. Okay, the capacitor will get charged initially. So this minus V reference will come over here, and the capacitor will get charged. So this voltage is compared, the output voltage of this integrator is compared with this minus 0.6 threshold, and as soon as this threshold is come out, it's passed out, this is the comparator. No? So the voltage across this one is compared with this threshold, and as soon as the voltage at this point goes below 0.6, then the output will switch to a negative pulse, and when it is above that one, it will be a positive pulse. So as soon as the output will go to the negative, and as soon as the output will go to the positive, the switch S1 will be switched to this position, and whatever may be the capacitor is charged, it is discharged through this current source, and the capacitor discharges and the voltage drops, and when the voltage drops again below that, this voltage becomes a positive voltage, and you will get a one shot. So one shot means this is nothing but a monostable multivibrator. So accordingly you will be getting a frequency. So this is a one shot. So here you can see that this time is less as compared to this time. Okay, so this timing is decided, this timing is fixed. So the advantage of this circuit is that you will be getting a high speed, high linearity, and a good noise rejection as compared to the previous circuit. The previous circuit we have seen that it consists an integrator. Here also you are consisting an integrator with a charging and discharging type of circuitry, and The advantage is that you will be getting a high speed, high linearity and good noise rejection. So most of the manufacturers, they are coming with an integral form of this circuit. So analog devices, they came up with such kind of charge balance type of ADC, which is ADVFC 32 and AD650. These are the devices, or these are the ICs manufactured by Analog Devices, and LM331 is manufactured by National Semiconductor. So the previous circuit that we have seen, that is came into integrated form. So here how exactly the circuit is operating. So you can see that the charging is done in this way. So you can see that this is the current I in. So this I in will flow, right, and this current is the total current that is provided by, this is the constant current I, this is the constant current source I is used. So this current which is flowing through this is I minus I in. So the charging will happen, and the charge across the capacitor will be depending on the voltage, so it will charge accordingly. So the capacitor will be charged, and at reverse it will be get discharged. So the current will flow and the capacitor will discharge, and you will be getting a charging and discharging current like this. So this is what you will be getting. So when the voltage goes below this is a 0.6 threshold. This is a 0.6 threshold of the next comparator to this integrator circuit. So when it goes below that, the capacitor discharges, it resets, and because it is in negative direction, now it discharges means in opposite direction, that's why it is giving you a positive pulse, and after that again it integrates. So it is a inverted type of integration, that's why you will be getting an integration in a negative direction. So charging and this is a charging, this is the charging period, this is a charging period, or you may call it as a integration. So this is a charging and this is discharging, okay, or resetting period, disintegration period. So this is how you will be getting a pulse, and this frequency you can decide on the basis of this Rin and Cin component will decide the charging and discharging period. Okay, so you will be getting the time constant f out is equal to, or the frequency is equal to 1 upon TOS. TOS is nothing but this time period, this is discharge time period, this is TOS, and T1 is nothing but this time period. So T1 is this one. So 1 upon TOS plus T1 is the total time period of charging and discharging. So this is one frequency slot you will be getting. So this you can get it In upon TOS divided by total current I, which is flowing through this constant. So you will be getting In is equal to what? In is nothing but, here it is grounded, so you use the concept of virtual ground concept. So the In will be given by Vin upon In. Vin upon Rin is nothing but this In into 1 upon TOS into I. So this total current is depending, or the frequency depends upon this Rin. So charging of the capacitor and this current. So Vin is constant, Rin is constant. So you can easily find, Rin is constant, TOS is also constant, I is also constant. So I can say that F out is directly proportional to Vin. Okay. Okay. Now the next converter is dual slope converter. Dual slope, that means the two slopes you are getting, one is a positive slope and the second one is a negative slope. It is the extension of that charge converter. So you can see the circuit is same, and it is most popular when a fast conversion is not required, you'll be using a dual slope converter. It is most popular converter rather using a simple charge converter. You are sorry.
So your voice is still breaking.
Okay, so dual slope converter is a popular converter when the speed is not that much important. Then in that case, this dual slope converter is generally used. So this type of converter performs a indirect conversion of input voltage. Why it is called the indirect conversion? First, you convert the Vin into your frequency, and that frequency is converted into pulse count, and that pulse count is directly proportional to Vin. That's why it is called as an indirect conversion. So you can see that how it will be done. It is actually similar to the previous function, only the difference is, we can see the difference over here. I will explain it. Now you consider that the stimuli which does not exhibit the fast changes, that means the sensor which is having a slow response. In such cases, you can go for such kind of slope converter because of its simplicity, cost effectiveness, noise immunity, the potentially high resolution. So that's why these dual slope converters are preferably when the stimuli, that is the sensor's response, is very slow. In such cases, dual slope converters are preferable. So there is an integrator and a threshold comparator, as per the previous circuit we have used in charge balance type of converter. The integrator is selectively connected through the analog selector S1. So you first collect it to the Vin and then connect it to the V reference. So the input is connected to the, either it may be connected to the Vin or it may be connected to the V reference. Okay, so the logic switch S1, there are two controls, S1 and S2. So S1 is used for selecting the two inputs, Vin or V reference, and S2 is used to reset the discharging of the integrated capacitor Cin. Now this is what the circuit is. Here you can see that, just a minute. So here you can see that there are two inputs. The input is taken as a minus V reference, and here it is a plus V reference. Either you can take this plus V in, and you have to take the opposite V reference of opposite polarity. So if you are taking input as a -1, then V reference is positive, and if the input is positive, then you have to take the V reference as a negative. So you can go for such kind of circuitry. Then you can see that the previous circuitry is similar to that one. This is an integrator followed by a comparator, and then there was a counter directly. Now instead of counter, there is a logic control. So this logic control may be a simple logic gate also, and that logic gate will be like this. So if you consider a simple AND gate, so the comparator's output, here you can get a comparator output, and here you will get a clock. So this is given as a clock, and its output is taken out, and its output is given to the counter, as well as this output is used for resetting, as well as using the switch one for taking it out. Now you can see that the previously it was taken as a 0.6 as a reference volt, and here it is now grounded. Here it is now grounded. So previously it was a 0.6 voltage, and here it is now the output is, input is of the comparator is grounded. So whatever may be the pulses are there, these pulses are counted, and these pulses are similar to are proportional to this Vin. Now the working of this one, So when you put it into the switch is at Vin, the switch is at Vin, what happens? Depending on Vin, the capacitor voltage, this voltage V will follow the input voltage. Now why it is taken Vin? If it is taken Vin, obviously your output will be positive because it is minus Vin. So minus minus will become, it is a inverting integrated, so output will be in terms of positive. So depending on Vin, it will reach to a particular voltage, and after that, once it's reached to a maximum voltage up to Vin, then this time period is fixed. This time period is fixed. So during that time period, it will reach to a particular value. So it will reach to a particular value, and after that, what will happen? The switch S1 will switch to V reference. The switch S1 will reach to V reference, and the capacitor will start discharging. So depending on this charging period, this voltage range, so charging will be decided by discharging will be decided by accordingly, and you will get a dual slope. And during that slope discharging, this gate will be activated, and this gate will be activated and pulses are counted. So this time period of discharge will count the pulse, and this count will be proportional to Vin. Now you can see that I'll show you the diagram of the slope. So when the switch is at S1, for a fixed time interval, your input signal is tested or is integrated with the help of integrator, and at time t it will reach up to a certain voltage, and after that the reaches to its output voltage level, and it is compared with, so it will reach to the output level Vm is equal to Vin into T divided by R in C in. So T is constant, R in C in is constant, so Vm is proportional to Vin. So this voltage level, output voltage level of this integrator is reached during that time period, and once it reached to the time period T, what will happen? Here you can see that during this time period T, it will reach to this Vm level. I will call it as a Vm level, and after that Vm, so with reference to that integrator, now it will switch to V reference. So V reference, it will reach to V reference, and the capacitor discharges, and as soon as the capacitor discharges and it will reach to zero ground, again it will start charging. So you will get a dual slope, one slope with a Vin and other slope is with V reference. That's why it is called as a dual slope converter. Okay, and you will be getting a voltage related to that one. So as soon as it reaches to the zero threshold, again it will switch to V in. So the integral reference, you will be having a slope of A is equal to minus V reference upon R in into C in. So during this integrated switch, once it reached to this one and it reached to the zero crossing, the switch S2 will be switched on. The switch S2 will be switched on, and whatever may be the capacitor is having a certain charge, that will be discharged. Now what is expected, that the slope of these two, that has to be equal, okay, for proper working. So V in into T divided by R in C in is equal to V reference into delta T into R in into C in. Now delta T is unknown to you. Okay, this delta T is not known to you, how much time it will take. So it depends upon this Vin. So if Vin is large or if Vin is less, I can show it you with the previous diagram. So if Vin is less, so you can see that if Vin is less, here it comes, then in that case it will discharge, and it will, this delta time period will be comparatively slow. Okay, this delta time will be comparatively slope, because this A depends upon V reference, because V reference is constant, Rin is constant, Cin is also constant. That's why the slope will remain constant. That's why I drawn a parallel line to this one. So the slope is constant. Now this delta t, which is previously was this much, now is this much only. So V depends so this delta t depends upon how much charge you will be getting, how much voltage V is there. So depending on that, you will be getting the voltage. So you can have a relation V in upon V reference is equal to delta T upon T. V in upon V reference is equal to delta T upon T. This is what you will be getting, and you can calculate the output voltage. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now the next conversion technique is successive approximation conversion. Successive approximation converter, and most of the time there is a register called as a SAR. So you might have studied such kind of concepts in your digital technique subjects. So it will be a just revision kind of bit for you people. So you just please refer to the concepts related to that one. Now the successive approximation technique. So when you require a speed and a high resolution, so most of the time this SA type of converters are used. This is also called as a successive approximation converter. So the conversion time is fixed and it is independent of your input signal. So this conversion time is fixed and it is independent of input signal. Now each conversion is unique, as the internal logic and registers are cleared after each conversion. That means you take for initially for one part, you convert it into a corresponding digital, and when you move for the next conversion part, before that the previous conversion was cleared. Okay, it is cleared. So each conversion is a fresh conversion. So it makes suitable for the multi-channel multiplexing. Multi-channel multiplexing means suppose there are 8 inputs are there and you want to measure the 8 inputs. So the circuit will be like this. I'll tell you like this one. So this is, let us consider these are the 4 inputs and you want to measure, and here it is a switch you want to select. So this switch will be selected. So instead of that connecting it to the switch, the digital switch is nothing but a mux. So digital switch is nothing but a mux. So this mux will select a particular input, and that input is given to this SAR or this successive approximation converter. So initially you select this one input, then after certain period you select 2, 3, 4, or it may be sequentially or it may be a random depending on your requirement. So whenever one is selected, so one will get connected to this input, and that one channel 1 input will be get converted into a corresponding digital. So this is how you will be getting. So this is called as a multi-channel multiplexing. Okay, so multiplexing itself is a concept of many into one. Okay, so this successive approximation technique, it consists a voltage comparator. This is a precision voltage comparator with a shift register, a control logic, and D2A converter. So D2A converter, which is used for a feedback purpose, so that your output will be compared with certain reference voltage, and that reference voltage is fed back to the analog comparator, which is a precision voltage comparator. So the conversion technique is similar to the weighing process using the balance. So you know that whenever you are considering the weighing process, so you have a weightage of 100 grams, then 250 grams, 500 grams, and when you want to weight of 250 grams, 750 grams, what you will be doing? You will be adding 500 grams plus 250 grams, isn't it? So this is called as a weighing process for the balance. So similarly, we add the n binary weights for each MSB to LSB. So if we consider the 4-bit MSB and LSB, so accordingly you will be getting the data in this manner. Okay. So the weights are added to that one. So you start with the conversion cycle. We always start with the comparators. Whenever you start the conversion cycle, all the registers that are cleared first and the comparator output is high. Now how exactly the circuit works? So this is how the circuit is. So here you can see that this Vin is applied to the non-inverting terminal, and this is a non-inverting comparator. So this the feedback given over here, it depends upon the V reference and the count you have got. Okay, so this D to A, so digital input is get converted into Vin, and this Vin and V reference are checked so that it will generate a voltage. That voltage is fed back to Vin to check whether you have reached to that value or you have reached to the approximated value of the input. And if you have reached to the approximated value, whatever may be the digital output you have got, that digital representation is the approximation of your input. That's why it is called as a successive approximation. Why it is successive, I'll tell you with the help of example. Now here you can see that this is what the Vin you have got. So you consider that there are 8 bits. Okay, 8 bit, and 8 upon 8 is nothing but 1. So 4 upon 8, it is nothing but 0.5 or 1 by 2. Okay, or it is 1 by 2. Okay, so this is 1 by 2. So you can see that these resolutions are made. So 8, we consider that if it is a 8-bit resolution, so here you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or it is represented by 10-bit also. So the resolution you can consider, but if I consider the 8, then I equally divide this full scale into 8 parts. I will start with a half of that. So this V reference is this voltage over here, I'll call it as a V reference, is half of that one. So initially all these bits are high, so it will be half of that one. So it will start with a half of that one. Now what happens? Now Vin is positive, right? Vin is comparatively positive. So this voltage at this point is, you will test for the MSB. Okay, we'll test for the MSB. So you check for the MSB bit. So MSB is there. Okay, but still your input voltage is greater than MSB. So what you will do? You go for the next bit checking. Now what is the X bit? Now the next bit will be half of this between these two range. So half of between these two ranges, 6 by 8 and 4 by 8, 1 by 2. 6 by 8 means how much it is? Exactly 6 by 8, you can divide it by 2. So it is 3/4, isn't it? So 3/4. So you will reach to 0.75. So when it reaches to the 0.75, you can compare it. Now you see that your voltage at this V reference will generate this voltage. So this V reference is greater than this Vin. V reference is greater than this Vin. So your output generated will be 0. So your output generated will be 0, because so this 0, again it will reach to the shift counter. The shift counter will check it, and it will go to the below that one, and it will reach to the original position, and it will again shift to. Now see, this is greater. Now you have to come to the approximation process till you move to the LSB. Now you test for the bit number 3 from the MSB. So you check for the bit number 3. Now you can see that the voltage at this point is less than this Vin. So again it will check for that one, and similarly it will go on increasing, and at a certain age, so this will be converted into a corresponding input voltage, either in terms of 8-bit resolution, either in terms of so if you consider it as a 8, then it will be represented as a 101. So this is how you will be representing, which is nearly equal to that one. So 0.75, so 0.75 is nearly equal to 101 if you consider that one. So this is how you will be getting. So if I consider it as a 8 volt and 0.75 is 6 volt, so below 6 is nearly equal to 0.75, so 101, which is nearly equal to that one. So you can represent such kind of successive approximation. So similarly you have to reach to the LSB type of, and you will be getting whatever may be the digital count, you will be getting 101010. So that representation is approximately equal to your Vin, and this is how you will be converting your analog signal into digital signal. So this is a successive approximation conversion. So D to A converter has a MSB scale, MSB, that is nothing but an half scale of its input, and it will give you the average of this input voltage and V reference. So you will be getting the average of that one, which I will call it as a VA, which is half of the full scale input signal. Then you go for checking of that comparator voltage, and if the comparator voltage is high, then you shift the register and you check for the next bit, that is 2 by 8, that is nothing but 1 by 4 is tried, and now the output is exceeding with the input, so output will shift to 0. So again it is shifted to the next bit, so that's why it is called as a shift register, SAR. And you have to go with the third bit, fourth bit, till you get the last bit. So once you get the last bit, whatever may be the digital representation is there, so that digital representation is equivalent to your input voltage. Okay, so this is how you will be getting the input voltage with the help of successive approximation. So after the complete conversion, the status line indicates that it is the end of the conversion, and the data can be read from the register as a valid number corresponding to your input signal. So to make the conversion valid, we need one more circuit, that is called a sample and hold circuit. See, you will require the conversion because you have to start with the MSB and you have to reach up to LSB. So it has a certain processing time. So till that you have to keep this Vin constant. If the Vin is changed between that period, this is going to create a problem for a conversion. So you have to keep this Vin constant. For that purpose, you will require one more circuit at input side, that is called as a sample and hold circuit. This is called as a sample and hold circuit. So this sample and hold circuit will act as a memory type of circuit for the input, and that memory is kept for a certain period, and once your conversion is over, then that your circuit is resetted back, and again it will go for the next sample, and it will check for the next circuit. So sample and hold circuit plays a very important role in successive approximation. Okay, so the advantage of this one is the conversion time is very less. The conversion time is constant and is independent of your amplitude of the input signal. So, and the disadvantage is that the circuit is complex. The conversion time is more as compared to the flash ADC. So flash ADC is the time period we need to consider. So the time period is more as compared to flash ADC. Flash ADC is also called as a high speed ADC, is also known as a flash ADC. Okay. So here there are certain points we need to consider. So you can enhance the resolution. Now let us consider that the full scale is represented by 8 bit. Now you can go for 12 bits also. So the 8 bit conversion, you can go to the 12 bits with the help of such kind of multiplexer, as well as 8 bit A to D conversion and a microprocessor. and the similar circuitries are used. So with the help of MUX and microprocessor, you can enhance the resolution from 8 bit to 12 bit, 8 bit to 10 bit. So depending on your requirement, so the circuit can be modified with the help of multiplexer and with the help of microprocessor to higher resolution. So this is how 8 bit to 12 bit conversion you can do it with the help of a multiplexer and microprocessor. So you will get a 8 bit converted into 12 bit. So with that, I'll stop here for the conversion. So if you have any difficulty